All right. Welcome to episode 21 of Beard Banter, which means two 10 units if you add them together, plus a 1 unit if we're doing, common math. But welcome, everyone. I'm actually in live and in person with my friend Dan, who's right across the table from
Hey,
me.
buddy.
Yeah. And Dan Reisig, why don't you take a second, introduce yourself? You and I have been friends for 5 years. We started enemies, right? At least one early on.
Frenemies.
Frenemies.
We didn't
We'll
know
say.
we were
Yeah, we didn't know,
We
but
just were competition, so we thought we should not like each
we're here to talk about employment and hiring in this industry. So it'd be great for you to set the stage. Dan, tell the people who you are and what you do.
other. Yeah, well, so my name is Dan Reisig. I'm the Vice President of Technology for Vaults and Storage. And that's what I do. I run the technology. So we have an internal staffing for IT, for technology, and we have external staffing for our clients.
Yeah.
Data center services, managed service provider, value-added reseller. I mean, just all the normal things that you would find in
Revenue
an IT shop.
stream.
Yeah,
And overall in revenue, just to give an idea, sub 5 million in revenue.
above 5 million.
Above 5 million.
Above it.
Okay, great. So one of the things that we're here to talk about today, and for anybody that's joining us, I think we're live. I think we have good audio. So if anybody in the chat doesn't mind popping in and making sure we're good.
Yeah.
I'm on a different set of equipment today. I'm in Dan's office in his studio, which he's set up very much in the same level of problems I have. So multiple cameras, multiple gear everywhere. You can check it out on my LinkedIn. But we're here to talk about employment challenges today, right? Like
Absolutely.
it's downright hard
Yes.
to hire today for a lot of reasons, right? I think some of them we'll touch on is just a willingness to work side of it, technical background and capability side of it's pretty massive. There's quite a few things that go into it, but you've been an MSP for how long? And I think you've had a successful exit too, yes?
Yes. Yeah. In 2016, I sold my company to UV&S. Yeah.
Where we sit today.
Where we sit today. Yeah, absolutely.
And you actually have been in the MSP space or in technology how long, Dan?
I've been in technology really since the early 90s.
Yeah.
Own since 2000.
And as I sit in your office, and I don't know if you can see behind Dan, but you see quite a bit of rocks and minerals and gold bars and things. And I'm hoping I can pocket that gold bar. I don't even care if it's not real gold. It's the principle of it, right? I want people to ask me if I'm smuggling gold out. But no, so you've been in technology for your entire career essentially. And joking aside, you and I have had competed at times
Absolutely,
at
yeah.
our MSPs. And what's great about that is it's more of co-opetition. You have people that do a good job that are trying to advance the capabilities in technology. And you have other competitors maybe that you wouldn't say the same thing about it. I would put you in that first category, right? I respected your work. It didn't hurt my heart when you took a client from us or vice
There you
versa.
go.
Right? But one of the things that I have to imagine is coming up is tell me your world around growing and hiring people, right? Is that a challenge for you today?
Oh no, I just put up a front and have people flood
But to be fair, you are in front of a lot of homeless population. Does that meet the technical?
Well, I believe, yeah, the skill sets that they have vary, but I think you can find on a semi-regular basis actual fine employees. No, it's honestly, I mean, it's tough. Everybody that I talk to has a very similar problem. I mean, we're
Yeah.
all looking for qualified people. We're all looking for people that have a brain about them, that have soft skills that can talk to clients and talk to each other and be a part of a team. And quite frankly, the pickings are just getting slimmer and slimmer. It's just getting more and more difficult to find a quality hire.
Yeah. Well, and I think you touched on something there, right? Because there's a parallel in the cybersecurity hiring space too, in the sense that oftentimes the skill set may not be there. What you triggered on, what Javier Salinas from Black Point Cyber that I had a call with as well, is the soft skills, the things that set you up for success in this industry being the primary decision maker. But that leads you with a large lead time to education before someone's actually effective in the field, right? I mean, I think that's one of the challenges.
Well, I think that is a challenge, but the truth of the matter is, I would rather bring somebody on at a lower level, got the soft skills that we're looking for,
Right.
and then fill in that skill set over time so they can learn our way of doing it. And the truth of the matter is, they're not going to stay with us for 20 years. They're not going to be here and retire from UV&S technology. They're just not going to do that. So our job, honestly, is to train them up as best we can, train them on our processes, procedures, and how we troubleshoot, how we do things, how we document, and get them a part of our team, right? As far as we can, and honestly help them get to that next level. Where they going next? Because that's what it's all about. And while they're here with us, we want them to be as productive as possible.
Yeah, and so
So,
you hit a nail on the head. It was funny. I went to lunch with Nicholas Herrera, who was at the former MSP that I was
yeah,
at, my operations boss, and he was talking. We were reminiscing about certain employees and stuff, and he said, "Yeah, we've got this one staff aug, and this one guy's in there." I was like, "Wait, you mean the guy that was doing the discs and erasing computers? Like that's what he came in as?" And I realized, A, I'm old, and that was 5 years ago.
it's 5 years, right?
But we hired the guy, and he was literally just a bench tech, right? He,
Yeah,
he literally had no skills. He came in, and now he's a augmented staff at a 200-person employee company, and is a first line of support, which comes into a couple things, right? If I was looking to hire that type of role to grow into something, you have to have the soft skills you talked about,
Absolutely, 100%.
and humility. The ability to say, I don't know, but my job is to get this through my team. That's why I have a team, and I can get that answered for you, right? Like,
Yes.
now, sometimes people know everything. And I think you may have brought with you a recent application you received for a
I
role.
can't believe we're gonna.
Let's do it though.
You want to?
We're gonna go. So,
Okay, so
let's set the
this up.
stage for me.
So we are in. We're looking to hire some people. We would like to
Sure.
hire, and we got some resumes. In.
Is it a specific role? What kind of role is
MSP?
it?
Like a tier 2 MSP person.
Okay. So somebody with some background.
An intern and an MSP tier 2 person. A network person. So we've got some things out on Indeed, some job recs out on Indeed, and so we start getting resumes in, and this one comes in, and obviously we can't share
The name or any of that.
anything
We
like
won't.
that.
We're not shaming anything.
But
Yeah.
I will tell you, the skill set that they put down
Pretty impressive.
with 4 years of experience was pretty
And
impressive.
3 bachelor's degrees, as I understood. So
3 bachelor's degrees.
let's take a
None
look.
of them seem like they were actual bachelor's degrees. Let's go to the show what.
All right. So let's just look at the stuff that was put on this resume. Right? Like computer operation, 9 years. I do like that was probably honest that it started from the first video game ever played.
Probably,
right?
yeah.
It's about 9 years is probably the time frame.
The people that are watching this are not going to believe the amount of data.
It's
we're about
4
to show you.
pages. Yeah, it's like Windows. English is definitely one of the requisite skills.
Yes.
Active Directory typing, 1 year. I do love that he's been 9 years in computer operations and 1 year typing. I have to assume before that it was all auditory interaction in some form. Or maybe that was just the game controller. Anyways, I digress.
It was soft skills, so we were really happy. Right?
Yeah. LAN and Microsoft Excel and Word and PowerPoint. Let's keep going. DNS, VPN, WAN, operating systems, computer networking, technical support, system admin, supervisory experience, at least, thankfully.
We'll go past some of those.
Mechanical, HVAC, EPA, which I'm not sure the HVAC side of that is requisite skill set, but let's go to page 2. We do have hand tools on here in case that's requisite.
Yeah.
But I think Screwdriver made it on there somewhere. But he's frequent with Ansible, which is great. We love the infrastructure as code methodologies. REST is good with APIs, VMware, network admin, MySQL, which should have fallen under the category databases earlier, VoIP, troubleshooting, seemingly. The joke is, though, right, you sit down with this gentleman, and I won't beleaguer the point. We do have 3 more pages of this. ICD coding, in case you're interested, for medical billing situations. Great programming, good at HR.
We've got to show this. Certifications and licenses.
Oh, this is great. Lots of EPA, CompTIA projects, CCNA, MCITP, and then it list goes on and on and on. CompTIA Security Plus.
But my favorite is this one. CCIE and CISSP.
Yeah, for sure. Both verifiable certifications.
But they did go through CompTIA.
That is good. That is fantastic. Yeah. I like seeing that. And I don't want to dox this person or beat them up. That's not my intention.
No.
But I think back to that humility point is when you met with this gentleman, how much this was accurate.
Those are words and acronyms that he had heard.
And I think the challenge you have there, did I see box truck? Henry Tim says, did I see box truck? I believe there might have been box truck and CDL on that, just in case.
Might have been. So.
And I mean, I know this is a hyperbolous example, but I think that's the challenge.
That is a real world example of someone that has a little bit of computer skill.
Yeah.
That has technology skill that wow. And when you get that many skills, I mean, obviously red flags went off.
Yeah.
But you got to bring the person in. Maybe they're like a Michelangelo of technology.
Very possible.
I
And
mean,
driving trucks.
well,
If I was making any pointed jokes, I would tease you for having brought that person in after seeing said data set. But that's just me, and we're friends, so it's acceptable.
so what you have to understand is I have had a previous FedEx truck driver that came to me that was a phenomenal
Yeah.
Windows person. I mean, they were great with servers and VMware.
Already preemptively, like they had an interest in it.
Yeah, they had an interest
Now-
in it. They were doing pretty good, and they hired them, and they did a good job for a number of years.
I would rather hire that individual. I don't know anybody watching. Henry, you're watching, but
Yeah.
when you're looking to hire that's the point I always ask. I don't care about what's on your resume. I care about what you're interested in. What makes you excited? What gets you like? I would rather have somebody come in and say, "I built up a VMware lab at my house by grabbing a couple servers I bought cheap online, and I did this, and it's this rinky-dink." But they have a passion for it. I can teach to passion, right? And so I guess that's the question for anybody watching is, do you have a passion? Aptitude's one way to say it, Shiva, in the sense that they have some like proclivity to be good at it. But I don't even mind seeing somebody that has no aptitude, but has just the drive and passion and the soft skills, because you can fix that. But I agree with you, Shiva, it's some way of denoting a bit of aptitude in that way.
And the other thing is that they may not fit the role that you are hiring for,
Right.
But you might find that they would fit very well over here in this position. Or you may even find a set of skills that you don't currently have. You haven't even thought about that this person brings to the table.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that when you hire, you've got to really understand, how does this person contribute to the team? Because they may not be, if you're hiring a VMware certified person,
Right.
Obviously, you're not going to hire somebody that's not VMware certified if you're not looking for that. But if you found someone that wasn't VMware certified but had an aptitude for it, had a passion for VMware, they'd set up the lab at their house.
Yep.
I would definitely look at them for a junior VMware person to grow them into something
100%.
over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Because again, you got to give people opportunity. I mean, we're a company, we're an organization that has to make money in the long run. The truth of the matter is, our job is to help grow people. Our job is to help them grow. Our job that's going to help our clients out. That's going to help their fellow workers out. I mean, it's our job is to help them. I mean,
Amen.
we're there helping.
And the interesting part about it is, especially now, you have this old adage of, what if I train them and they leave?
Absolutely.
What if you don't and they stay?
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, it's the other side of that.
Absolutely.
To Shiva's point, and I want to kind of touch on this, talk about, he says, for me, it's more, and Shiva's a good friend of mine, but same with Henry too. I guess I don't have a lot of, I've had a couple, not too many. But Shiva says, listen, it's more important to have an onboarding process and pathway as an employer. Otherwise, the employee may end up floundering. Now, that's accurate. And I've seen that as we grew as an MSP from that 7-person shop where there is no planned future really other than just kind of work, to growing and growing and growing. And then now having to start going, okay, you're here, but there is a path for you to get here.
Absolutely.
And that, I think we really sucked. I think we did a poor job at giving someone a vision of the future in our industry.
Well, and I don't know that's, I mean, that, you don't get a handbook when you start. You don't get a handbook when you get into management.
Right.
If you're very, and for me, I was just a technical guy that happened to be good at sales and a little bit decent at some IT technologies, mostly communications and routing and switching and things like that. But nobody, it's like raising kids. Nobody gives you a handbook on how to do it. You kind of stumble through it for a while.
Right.
Ask for the knowledge of the people that have been there and done that, and hopefully you've got the wherewithal and the brains to take that advice.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't call it advice. I would call it experience. Let's take
punches to the face. Yeah.
Yeah. And not do those same things. But sometimes you got to get punched in the face a lot to get to where you're going. And that's one of those things is onboarding process, fulfilling that dream of what we're doing as a company and why we're here.
Yep.
I mean, for us, it's pretty simple. Our clients don't know enough about technology to keep themselves out of trouble. So our job is to help our clients provide their clients
vision of technology to deliver their mission to their clients.
Mission,
right.
And we're trying to help keep their families fed of that company as well. It's not just that.
Well, and our audio has been cutting out a little bit, Shiva said, so I'm not sure if it's technology or human in action, but let us keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
The other point that he touches on is an onboarding process, and I want to touch on this from a security perspective too. I think it is one of those things where I talk a lot about defensibility, this need to be able to defend the actions you took vis-a-vis the delivery of your contract, vis-a-vis the delivery of your security service, whatever it may be. And so when you start thinking about that, having an onboarding process for an employee that talks about cybersecurity training and education, that onboards them correctly, that sets them the understanding of what you should do and what you shouldn't do as an employee, that helps to educate that, and then documenting that process and improving that process, I think goes a long way in defensibility when the lawsuits come or when the privacy suits come or when regulation comes. Excellent point there, Shiva. Um, Cameron Colden said, I thought box truck was a security system I'm not familiar with. It may very well be, right? It's like a skiff, but not a skiff, I suppose, in that situation.
Box skiff?
Yeah, box
It's a
skiff.
skiff. It's a box truck.
The great question. This is for you.
Okay.
How many hours a week for your staff do you dedicate for training and education? And this was a problem for us too. We had challenges where employees were asked to get certs and they were told to go and grow, but they still had a full ticket load, they still had a full day, they still had a full week, they still had a full month. How do you fight and combat that is one question. The second is, how much time do you personally give to grow and build their skills?
I think that's a double-edged sword because, quite frankly, I'm the same way that you. We have not dedicated enough time. We have not dedicated enough to adequately, in my opinion, get them where they need to go. Now, however, I will tell you this: they're in training all the time. Our team approach. Obviously we have certifications and skill sets that have to be met, and we're certified on all these kinds of things. Those people pass that knowledge on, but it's not always through a certified process. If you job training, continuing education type process, we have to go through. Most of our employees have to go through annual training, all kinds of Dell equipment, all kinds of Microsoft things. So, there's continuing training, but quite frankly, it's not where I'd like it to be. It's not where it needs to be.
If you could wave a magic wand, how would you fix it?
I would hire a training person to track all the training for our
Yep.
and make sure that every single thing in training, every dot was every I had a dot above it, every T was crossed. When training was time to come around, you would sit down with that person and say, okay, where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 3 years?
So some career coaching as well as training in that same way, which I think is half the solve. Right? Because now you have a person to be responsible for ensuring that what gets thought of gets done. Right? That's always a life adage. And so if you think about training, you'll have time for it. And I agree with that. I never have been one of these that scribed on so much to, oh, my people don't have enough time. They're completely busy. Bull crap. I was a technician. I spent my same amount of time bullshitting off, even when I was right. Like, let's just be completely honest. There's some degree of time for those things, right? But in the same breath, I would also say you almost have to have a rotational person to allow some bandwidth in the team for those things, because it's not fair to expect them to do it at night. Did I do my training at night? Yeah, because I'm passionate. That goes back to that first beginning of that, right? My training is not just the OJT, but it's also this expansion of my skills or CTFs, things that are fun, that engage me, right, and drive me forward. So I think the other half of that equation is almost going against what we're taught as MSPs. Everything's about efficiency. Everything's about EBITDA multiplier. Everything's about W2 multiplier, not EBITDA multiplier, but everything's about W2 multiplier. Everything's about an efficacy efficiency conversation. But how do you take an efficacy and say, I want you to only be 60% utilized because I need you to take 20% of your time and invest it in right?
And the number we try and shoot for
of utilization, which is great because you just jumped ahead on Shiva's question towards, hey, what's your target utilization for an employee as it relates to their core job, leaving time for admin tasks?
Yeah, we do 75%. And quite frankly,
where'd you get the number?
That's a very good question. I know we didn't just pull it out of thin air, but that's the number we've had in years.
Sure.
Because of just how can we support the employee? How many hours do they have to bill in order to support them?
So you backed into the number.
I backed into that percentage. I will tell you that the good news is some weeks they're 50%.
Right.
Other weeks they're 90%.
And the challenge is, how do you take the 50% weeks and incentivize? And I think maybe to your point, that's what the training coordinator's role would be.
Absolutely.
Right? It's going, all right, y'all, I understand you had a 90 last week, and it's real nice to feel that 50. Let's make it 70 and do a little training. Right? I mean,
you've got 6 weeks to complete this training. Get it done in your downtime at work.
Yeah. Yeah.
After all the admin's done, because quite frankly, tool sets that we have today, the PSAs, the things like that help us track time, they're a lot better than when we used to have to keep spreadsheets
Oh,
on a
for
Word
sure.
pad or
Yeah,
whatever.
for
So
sure.
a lot more
Because I'm sure
efficient.
every technician does their time entries as soon as they're done with it. They're true to the time
Right.
frame.
You've
They're
been-
not even off of. Like I was perfect.
You've been
For anybody watching, I was.
No, you've been drinking.
No, it was terrible. Like it was the worst. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I am also one of the worst offenders.
Yeah. But your point is, it's more automatable. We do know
Yeah.
what things should take. You almost have some degree of like comparison of what time should be. Like a help desk has a 30-minute limit, or whatever it may be. You start getting into it.
Yeah, and I think the more data that you can bring out of your PSAs and other tools that you have, it will help you build that training. It will help you say, you know what, an hour a week, 2 hours a week, 4 hours a week, whatever you can give as a company for them to set aside to go, look, you've got to do some training in this amount of time.
Yeah.
It would be great to say, this is your track. This is how many hours it's going to take you, we think.
And so there's
See you in 6
somebody
weeks.
I've met that did this really well, and I'm going to shout him out, Medicus, actually. So I was
Mhm.
talking to Andrew Slotsky from Medicus. He's no longer there anymore. But he was talking about how when they were there, they basically had every engineer had a track. It was a path that they were going to be on, whether that was network admin to level 2, server admin level 2, cloud infrastructure admin level 2. And what they would do is those tracks had a certification and or training program and a timeline to achieve those tracks and move to that role. And so you almost systematized the training of those resources into their specific roles,
Yeah.
which allows you to gamify it a bit, right? You could almost say, you know what, for anybody that's going to be, we're short on network admins, anybody that's going to make network admin this month or the next month and you complete your track, we're going to give you a 10% bonus now. And so you can almost see a world where you could incentivize those tracks towards career development just as much as, hey, and this is a take of saying, hey, employee, this is kind of your investment in you too. And even though it's not dedicated during your work time, nor is going back to school to get a college doctorate to move your career forward, right? And so you have this kind of somewhat of a combination of those two where we're both investing in you.
Well, and the thing that the employee, that they really understand that you take those certifications and you take that training with you when you leave.
Yeah.
I mean, we're giving that time to you, and it's you can't exactly quote it as a benefit of working at the company,
Right.
but it is. I mean, those
You're a professional. I would not be sitting where I am
Yep.
today if Chris Hoos had not had the ability
Yep.
for me to invest in myself when I was at Juice. And in the
I
same
agree.
way, so I mean, he built me in the same way, or at least that company
Oh,
built
God.
me.
Now we
No,
have a responsible party.
that's what I'm trying
Who's
to.
gonna call
You
them?
get me, Dan. See, you understood. I was talking about liability. Everybody else out here we're talking about benevolence, right? No, this is absolute
Yeah, this
liability
is-
shift. Yeah. I'm putting blame
I
on
love
this.
I love Chris to death. He and I spent a lot of time together before he and I started companies. So I will.
Yeah, you should, and just tell him, hey, you're responsible for the figure that is
I'm gonna
Matt
need some.
this time.
I'm gonna need some financial support after this because I'm gonna need to get back into my therapy.
And I agree with this, and I love this, right? Like companies have a responsibility to grow their people, and I would actually say people have a responsibility to grow people, right? And
You have a responsibility to each other on the same team to
100%.
help everybody else grow, or you're not doing them any favors.
But
I mean,
but to Shiva's point, companies should set up the scenario,
Absolutely.
hire the right people, put mindfulness into this, and driving people's growth and success. And you have this interesting cliff coming, right? Because let's say I need you to hire a bunch of people to run a traditional MSP, traditional clients, traditional infrastructure, 1,000 ways to Sunday assemble, traditional. But what if I said no? And Shiva can hate me for this one. It's okay. But what if I said instead you go hunt for a Goldilocks client? If I started an MSP tomorrow, which I'm contractually not allowed to do by a lot of measures, but if I was to start an MSP tomorrow, I would go and focus on the clients that were either already cloud only in the sense that they were Azure AD bound or Okta or Google, whoever you want to find as your main point. And then I would go find every company that could be moved that way quickly. Line of businesses that aren't super verticalized into shitty software, right? Things in that nature. If you did that, what do you need to hire then? If everybody is literally an identity provider and a SaaS solution, and the SaaS solution has defined backup processes, and the Microsoft has additional scripted things that make them always the same, or Google or Okta, you start getting into a world where I would rather hire those soft skills for an almost different reason. I would rather hire those same humans to be able to go talk business and technology, not necessarily the nuts and bolts of the plate spinning, the servers and the patching and the stuffs.
I agree. I'm gonna counterpoint because One of the challenges that I have we've been a Dell only shop ever since we started,
Yeah.
right? That has limited my growth. It has. I mean, it just has. Being a one vendor, but I know I can count on that vendor. I know they're going to be there for the long run. There's a whole bunch of things that I feel good about doing that.
Yeah.
But I do know it's limited. It's limited on, right?
Sure.
However, when you start taking clients that are cloud only, they get it. They've moved on. They're up in the cloud. It makes it easier to
And hopefully the
manage
right
for
way,
you.
not Azure VMs and
Yeah,
things, but
yeah,
actual full cloud SaaS adoption.
It's your Goldilocks client.
Right. In my definition.
In your definition, the challenge is there are so many they'll never get there,
They don't have to.
right?
Their competition will be better than them.
Well, I get that.
I mean, I think that's the point is you'll start seeing some of these things that create their own anchor, right? I love rising water because it rises all tides, right?
Yes.
But eventually you're chained to the bottom, you drown.
Well,
and I think that's
what I'm saying. I mean, the challenge for us really is to get those people that are at those levels that don't want a monthly recurring bill, because there's a lot of companies that are still running on software that's 10, 15, 20 years old, honestly. And how do we get those people from?
All right, you scoot this way. We got the mic. It's obviously in a mode. Shiva's my audio engineer too. I think this is in directional mode, so the closer you are, the better we're gonna get mic.
Well,
let's test it. All right.
Let's do the
Uh-oh, zoomed out. All right.
Any better, Shiva? I can turn.
Oh, I would agree with this. Yeah, like Henry says, shout out to channel partners who support MSP staff training like Nerdio and this PAX 8 company, whoever that is. But I don't know who that might be. I certainly don't draw a paycheck from those amazing humans, right?
Full disclosure, I'm a
partner. So can you hear him if I'm not talking, Shiva?
Test 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, I'm probably triggering the proximity. This is the Yeti, Shiva. We're not on my mic that just works. We have this like fancy software trying to solve it.
The pattern on the mic.
No, I think we're already through it this far, so it is what it is. Now you can scoot over here and just chat with me. I can turn the mic, get all cozy. Okay,
honestly,
fair
I
enough.
can already smell it.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that.
I think I'm close enough.
Switch on back of Yeti. Let's just change the model.
Yeah.
Where's your other pattern? This
right.
one?
Yeah.
You want to try another pattern? Here we go.
Yeah. Try another pattern.
What about that pattern?
Well, that pattern is the. Nope, wrong pattern. I think we need this. Let's try that.
Right, is that pattern better?
Is that any better?
We've turned said switch on back of Yeti.
I see a nope.
Well, that was the earlier note.
Oh,
so
good.
It's okay. We are where we are. It is what it is. Okay. So the point is, back to the conversation. Hopefully they can hear you decently, but much. Okay, it is much.
All right.
Huzzah.
Huzzah.
Yeah, very nice. So, the fun of new technology. So back to the point. One of the things that when we were hiring, and my reason I brought this up is, and I don't disagree. There's this huge gap for small to mid-sized business that aren't wanting to convert to a recurring revenue model, aren't wanting to do those things. I think the challenge is that you're seeing the sea of the possibilities of the future and of what can be done at very large scale by these individuals shift out in the cloud, and the capabilities of those things. For somebody staying back in on-prem stuff, I think there's a challenge to them. When I can start a new company tomorrow, right up the street from them, have no infrastructure costs and barrier to entry, start up with good and easy to use technology, security that can be done at scale, those kind of things that
I 100% agree with you, Matt. But again, you've also got to think about, you may be missing the key success part of that thing, which is the right people to run that technology. Because if you get the machinist, let's just talk about a machine shop. You got a machinist that's been there 35 years. You're not going to get them to use any technology, but they're going to be probably the best damn machinist in town.
True.
Right. You're going to get the quality there, and the people go there because they know this is the best machine shop in town.
Yeah.
Eventually, you'll get to, not only do we have the best machine shop in town with all the equipment in town, we also have the best
technology and security.
So I think there's a gap between getting them from where they're at today in a semi-hybrid world, if you will, because they're going to have Office 365.
Yeah, for sure.
Things like that, but they're not going to be super technology related right out of the chute. So I like getting those people from point A to point B. I mean, I like helping people. If I had to start an MSP tomorrow, I'd probably do the same thing you're talking about.
You could skip the shit out of it. Yeah.
Clients and you help those people as well.
Oh, for
It's
sure.
just they usually have deeper pockets, better, they're larger companies, and quite frankly, they can afford to do
But,
those
but
things.
I would argue that small to mid-sized business, and maybe we're a little tangential to topic, but
Yeah,
I think small to mid-sized business going in the recurring revenue model for cost for those type of technology solutions cuts cheaper than what they would put in capital investments to do things these
essentially.
days to some extent. So
Yeah,
at that scale, so there's some argument for going the other direction, right? Where this first dawned on me was I met with this therapist, and it was a friend of
that
ours.
does not surprise me.
Thank you. Appreciate that, buddy. But I met with this therapist.
Weekly, I would.
Yeah, on some recurring basis. She was starting her company and she asked me how I built it. I told her, I was like, this is what I would look for out of your EMRs. This is what I would look for out of your pieces for a lot of business software. And it was all around cloud centric. And then I told her, hey, I'll help you do it on the side. I'll be glad to get you set up. She didn't call me. And I talked to her husband, who's a friend of mine. And I said, what happened? She goes, she just kind of went through and did it all, which is a problem, right? Because there's going to be security gaps, things that should be done. But in reality, that's the kind of technical barriers dropping. We're not setting IRQ ports anymore on cards. We're not setting. I'm not doing it was so nice. Flip, flip, flip. It's a 7. COM 7. I'm gonna use COM 7. But the point is, let's jump back to Britton here. Andrew Britton's my another friend of mine. Some of the most successful partners I've managed. He used to be with Barracuda MSP for a very long time.
Very good.
Have over the years invested and rewarded employees heavily, providing raises for every certification they obtain, and keep the raise if they continuously renew the certification. And it kind of goes back to that joke in the beginning of what if I train them?
Well, and I will be honest with you. I mean, there's a lot of times what we do with our employees is exactly that. You're going to start off at here. Once you attain this certification, we're going to put you up here, and then the next certification again. It's raises along the way, and that quite frankly, they love it. We love it. They get trained. I mean, again, it's just a win-win for everybody. Absolutely agree with you, Brandon.
Andrew Britton. He's my friend, Mr. Britton. Yeah, he's a good guy. And I think that's the point is like investing in them, getting them their certifications. Well, you're probably still getting them at a discount. I mean, if you went and hired those certifications,
absolutely.
even with that.
But you're also getting two other things out of it. The company always gets something.
Sure, has to.
Absolutely have to. So you get better discounts. The more people you have, the higher level of certification that your company gets, you get better discounts. Spiffs, you get better sales and marketing support. I mean, so there's a lot of other things that have to drive.
Especially in the Microsoft family, right? If we just wanted to look at that microcosm. You can't make gold if you don't have X number of these, right? And to that extent.
So those people help you attain that, which gives you more money to spend on them for the next level of training.
Yeah.
So to me, it's a continuous circle.
And I think to this point, I believe you can use Microsoft MDF dollars out of their 40% pool to pay for certifications, to pay for training and things. So it truly is an investment. One of the things that I liked at Iconic when I was there was they paid for my CISSP. They paid for my CCSP. I think PAX 8 may have paid for my CCSP. But they paid for my CISSP. And at that time, there was no contractual obligation. So I want to ask your thought on this. The new company that came in is now saying if you do that and we pay for it, I need a year commitment.
I think that is absolutely perfectly you want, because quite frankly, what did it cost them to pay for your CISSP? Just round numbers.
The test was $800.
I mean, the time and the energy and the effort. I mean, they sent you to class.
If they did, I did.
Take
but yeah,
7 to 10.
You'd have 10 grand.
So I've had almost every employee that we've sent off to training, long classes out of town because you can't. Those have an obligation that come with them, and typically it's a year, depending on what it is.
Because you need to recoup some of your ROI,
and that's how you explain it. It's like, look, we're gonna do this. You're gonna carry this certification on with you. We just want to make sure that we get the bang for the buck out.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's out of line.
Makes total sense. And Shiva goes back to an earlier comment when you were talking about how this is beneficial to the business and this grows, and saying and it's also tied to pricing for a business versus pricing for giving oneself a paycheck. And I think what he's meaning to say there is, some people take that and put it in their pocket instead of reinvesting. And that's one of the things I think Chris did really well. I think that's one of the things you do really well is reinvesting, not just for the profitability, which I think I've seen your numbers. Remember when you left your desktop unlocked? Never mind, just teasing. But you guys are very profitable, but you also invest very heavily in your. That's one of the things where the hiring challenge itself means we have to invest in what we have as well, and have to have a path to grow what we either have or can acquire. So,
And I will tell you, I mean, there's always room for doing it better. There's always room for growth. I mean, they're just
true story.
You don't get it right with every person because not everybody's motivated by the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, I've got employees that like money, and if you
No.
want to motivate, yeah, they do.
But some people
They don't care.
want a bicycle. Like we had the same thing, right? Like
Yeah.
where you get so many more pay, the amount of quote unquote utils or return in positivity that comes out of that isn't that huge. This is a great question for you, Dan. Shiva's asking you part of the books, but what do you think is a good EBITDA? And I've already seen a pretty good EBITDA. So
Well,
what do you think is a decent EBITDA? This is great. I love putting you on the hot spot, buddy.
you know, I mean,
Not yours, but what do you think is good?
I think a good EBITDA is somewhere between 8 and 15%.
Okay.
I mean,
And you're crushing that number, yeah? Okay.
I'm crushing that. but I mean, let's
20 to 25,000 is where I would probably say, or 20 to 25% is probably.
yeah, I mean, and you know, that's where I would really like to be, and that's where I think most people need to be. But not every MSP is there today. I mean, they're not all, you know, they don't all have 500 employees. They don't all have.
And you can get to that number in a lot of ways that are negative, right? You can
That's
get to
correct.
that number in ways that aren't beneficial to your organization,
Absolutely.
that aren't beneficial to the organizations you're protecting.
Boss buys a new Porsche, right? It's company car. That's not
That's a
negatively
negative
beneficial.
beneficial.
But he lets people drive it, so it feels good about it.
Yeah. We did that with a Tesla once. It got wrecked a few times.
Yeah, but the Tesla was free.
And it was a free Tesla.
Yeah, so it didn't cost
Other than taxable
yeah,
benefit.
other than tax.
No, joking aside, Chris Hoos won a Tesla
Yeah.
at Robin Robbins, for anybody that doesn't know this, and he let any employee borrow it. And you know, to tell the story, a certain employee called when Chris and I were sitting in Boston, and a series of phone calls happens where the first one calls and goes, "Okay, you got in a wreck? All right, yeah, okay. Let me know what the cops say." Next call. Oh, the guy was drunk. He hit you at a stopped traffic light. That's wonderful. Great. Let me know. What it ended up being was he somehow circumvented the backup protection, put the Tesla in reverse, and tapped the dude behind him. And the dude behind him was drunk and got arrested for a Dewey. Anyways, it was fun.
Hey,
But he did loan it out, and it was free. And it wasn't just to make him feel good.
no, he's a good.
Yeah,
This is a good guy. He did that as a perk. I mean, he's a good dude.
But to your point, it is sometimes those perks and that family camaraderie and the love for the organization. You know, those things that keep somebody somewhere. I went to lunch with a CISO here in town that's at another MSP competitor, a very large one. Yes. And I talked to him about his skill set. He's grabbed 5 new licenses in the last 6 months. And I'm like, are you planning on leaving? Like, what's your career down the road with what you're building up? And he goes, I'm happy here. I like what I'm doing. I like the people. It's not high pressure. I'm able to solve security challenges. And so you have to understand, I think there's people that don't have this unbridled desire for more on a constant basis. And,
No, I
some of that. And it sounds like you have a pretty low churn here as well of employees. And you have a lot of the same goofy people I've seen eyeballing me many times I've come in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so.
And then the thing you to understand is I think my challenge is connecting with them on a human level, connecting with them on a personal level,
Yep.
and really understanding what they like. I mean, my guys and gals working 60, 70 hours in a week, 80 hours. I mean, we've done things like we've sent people out to mow their lawn because they honestly
That's epic.
My wife is on my ass about the lawn, and I need to get her to mow the lawn.
I see Don rolling up in the truck. Don,
So you do that, or you send dinner home, so you
Sure.
get dinner made for them, or send them some gift cards.
that's
or something
having
along
empathy,
the way.
right? That's understanding
Exactly.
the human element.
And I think that's where there's a lot of people, almost everybody, that way.
Yeah.
You can get to them and you let them know that you care about them in a different way than just, I need you here because I want to make money.
Those are 2 good ones in the sense that, when we had this, a guy named Keith who worked there forever, and they bought him a bicycle and told him thanks and stuff that like he wouldn't have spent the money on a bicycle, even if he'd gotten that size of a raise. I mean, it was like a $7,000 bike or something. It was a very nice bicycle.
I guess.
But doing that was so touching. I think to your point, these little things like going mowing the lawn, like that is one of the things where you're like, I want to acknowledge that I'm doing you wrong right now. And the situation has placed you in that position. The best I can do is at least make sure your life's a little better and I care about you in your situation. So obviously you can't do that every week. You can't be in a position where you beat them to death. But
that's a very special thing that your guys are working hard. They're at the point of being, things aren't going. we're technology. Things don't always go well
Things
at home
go perfect
because we get called at all hours of the night.
Bro.
Everybody appreciates it.
When I was in my career doing this, I guess I'm always still in my career, but when I was a direct line representative and technician, right? I was just that guy that would do everything. If there was if there was something to be done tonight, sure, I'll babysit that VM migration.
Yep.
Yeah, no worries. I'll take care of that email migration tonight. All right, I'll fix that one problem and apply that patch. And so I was that guy. And I'm not gonna, to misspeak here. There was challenges in my marriage as a result of that.
Absolutely.
I was always working at all times, doing something in front of the keyboard. Doesn't matter if I was home and present around my family. I was a blob sitting there yanking on some keys, right? Like that.
Absolutely.
That's not the same life. And so I would say I totally recognize that. And I don't think there's a perfect answer to your point. We're in technology, and it is the way things are sometimes in that space.
It's really weird, but customers expect their stuff.
Yeah, and Brian's right. Like human capital provides some of the highest ROI.
Absolutely.
And I think that is this balance of people go into business, and I might offend people in this. People go into business and take the risk to be a business owner, have those things because they're not okay with being an employee. They don't care about that safety. They want that high end return. They want that. And that is the business risk. That is the reward in capitalism for taking the business risk. But in the other side of that coin, those companies couldn't do that without the capital and the humans that are okay taking a paycheck and maybe don't have the entrepreneurial spirit or don't have that drive and risk tolerance to do that. And so I think to Brian's point, it's finding that healthy balance of I get the most ROI out of these humans that people care about. And you can have that one human that works for you that people do business with, suck at what you do because they have that human attachment capital, right?
Absolutely.
And so I think to his point, you have this balance between how do I make sure and reward my employees for their ROI, even though I am taking all the risk as an entrepreneur in some way, and then how do I then do that in a way that's representative of that, but also shows that I care? What's fair? What's that balance?
Well, and another thing gloss over is if you think your salespeople, your account managers are the people that your customers count on, you're wrong.
Yeah.
They're those people that are busting their hump for you day in, day out that they talk to on the phone. They get remoted in on. Those are the people that have that interaction. Those are the people that carry your customer when you're screwing it up really. The account manager may be able to go out there and sign a contract and things like that. But yeah, good swag is it, but it's really those people that hold that relationship with the client.
Yep. And Brian Wheeler is one of those people. Just so you know. No headhunting. He does not live in your city. But Brian Wheeler is probably one of just the most calm, intelligent, works well with people. No, but he's a good dude. It doesn't mean he has to like me smart.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, it's terrible. But yeah, back to Shiva's point. Good swag is a great motivator. Co-branded swag for clients works well too. I actually hadn't thought about that, where you're going company A powered by UV&S, like having that kind of a logo. I will say, actually, I don't think I knew about this, but Merletta Moore, one of our clients, had turned their 5 years since they had started as a new manufacturing company and bought the company. And so she had these 5-year shirts made with our co-logos on it. So I certainly didn't think about it, but we have done that before. I have appeared in that picture, but you're right, Shiva. I think that's actually brilliant because it also ties together and solidifies somewhat of that relationship. This is a two-way street. This is me caring about you and you caring about me so that our businesses both grow and flourish, right? We're a business neighbor. We'll wrap up a couple more comments and we'll drop out. I love the grass cutting story. I do too, Brian. That one's amazing. How does someone get on the list asking for a friend?
Well, if you want hard, Brian, I'll get you at least one.
We already said no headhunting. He's my friend, and he's at another company, and we know we're not talking about that, Dan. This is the danger of being in a city I've lived in. But
somebody's probably looking for it.
And I guess not powered by fair. I think I understand what you mean in that spirit, Shiva. But both logos on. I guess my point being is it's to solidify the partnership of those two. You're right. A powered by denotes this, like I make you possible. When in reality,
I think that's why your whole company has got to have that line of, not only take care of your employees, we take care of our clients in a certain way.
Amen.
And that is probably the hardest part to get to. When you go in front of a client and they've got 4 proposals out there and they're within 10% of each other, who are they picking?
Hey, Brian, do you mind typing in your home address? And I'm going to need at least the last 4 of your date of birth and a social for us to reserve the mowing pro.
Yes.
Can you just type that in for me? I'll put it up on the screen. Make sure our people get home. Okay.
You don't have LifeLock, do you?
No, don't worry. No worries. No worries. Man, it's been great. I want to thank everybody for being here. We're at the end of our time. Dan, thanks for hosting me in your office. I'm only going to take off 10 points for the microphone quality.
I'm sorry.
But you know what? This is the reason to get you a Scarlett, right? Focusrite, 2i2. We're going to get you, a
Good
Rode
God.
Pod mic and a cloud
I'm gonna
lifter.
get like $10,000 in
But I
this
only make
deal.
12 points on everything, right?
Yeah.
Brian says just a sec.
Jesus.
He's going to post it up, whatever.
That's what worries me about technology, people. You never know what you got to buy next because this is just.
It's nice when they have a low bean fleece and their friend who owns a company gets a mouse pad. Fair. True story. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. And the Rode video mic is also a fantastic direct to USB, if I recall, option and model. So thank you all for being here. We're going to drop out.
Thank you very
now.
much.
See you. Yeah. Hey, Brian, that's not nice. Not nice.